Let's quickly talk about the top 5 emergency loans, bad credit guaranteed approval. And here are the latest soft pull lenders who approve you generously and super fast with less paperwork. Very important. So I want you to stick around till the end of today's conversation. You are going to love it. I guarantee it.
One in a million, one in a million, one in a million. You know they're coming up to me, cause I'm just the kind of flower that's stinging from the beat, but the rhythm's getting higher. Go, 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 go. One in a million, one in a million, one in a million, one in a million, one in a million.
Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. How are you today? I hope you are doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous, if you were to ask me. If you are doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee, or tea, or vodka, and let's roll. In today's conversation, I want to speak to you about the top 5 emergency loans for bad credit guaranteed approval. So here are the latest soft pull lenders who approve you generously and super fast with less paperwork. We have here, number 5, we have Upgrade. Our score 8.2 over 10. So with Upgrade, the minimum credit score they're asking for, it goes from 510 to 560, depending on the state you're applying from. The APR is kind of decent. You have 7.46% to 35.97%. And the loan amounts are capped at 35 grand here. So we have $1,000 to $35,000. What we love about Upgrade is that this company is constantly kicking ass. They are constantly innovating. And what we love is that they provide accessible online and mobile credit and banking services in every state except Iowa. So they are a fintech, okay? So they're not in Iowa, they're not in Vermont, they're not in West Virginia. And what we love here is that their customer service is just fantastic. Really fantastic. In terms of loan funding, you can get, because here we are speaking about emergency loans, so you can get your loan funded in 1 day, but on average it's 2 days. Now, if you have all the paperwork, they can actually approve you real fast. Okay, here are the pros and cons. The pros: low minimum credit score requirements. Borrowers can use loans to cover business expenses, and they do offer a direct lender payoff for debt consolidation loans. Here are the cons. They have a high APR range. They charge fees for origination, late payment, and insufficient funds, and they only offer 2 loan repayment periods. So in terms of the extra details here, you have to understand, if you want to qualify, 510 to 560, sometimes 580, if you want to qualify for an Upgrade personal loan, okay? And the thing is that they do allow both co-signers and co-borrowers. This is really good because it adds a little bit of flexibility into the whole borrowing process, okay? And we love the fact that Upgrade will also work with you depending on your income. Now, if you make minimum 14K a year, they'll work with you, okay? Now, if you make more than 30 grand, this is kind of cool also. But the bottom line is great customer service. They're constantly innovating. They allow you to pay off your loan pretty quick, and they are actually receptive to emergency loan applications. Not a problem. Number 4, we have here Prosper. Our score 8.7 over 10. With Prosper, the minimum credit score is 540. And the APR range, you are looking at 6.99% to 35.99%. And Prosper is a little more generous than Upgrade. So loan amounts here oscillate from 2 grand to 50 grand. So $2,000 to $50,000. So when you think about Prosper, I want you to think about a peer-to-peer lending platform, P2P lending platform that was actually created about 17 years ago. And we love the fact that they actually offer flexible personal loan amounts you can use for anything, including emergencies. It goes from 2 grand to 50 grand. And so their borrower qualifications are also actually accessible. And all of this loans, by the way, they actually are soft pull, so you don't have to risk anything. You don't run the risk of having your credit score decimated if you if you seek to pre-qual for all those loans in a single day. Not a problem, okay? And one thing I want to say here is that you can actually receive the cash real quick from 1 day to 3 days. Okay, so this is really good. And loans are available for 3 or 5 year terms, and APR are kind of decent too. Now, obviously, the lowest rates are reserved for the most credit-worthy borrowers, right? And so this is really good. And so here are the pros and cons here. The pros: flexible loan amounts, accessible minimum credit score, and funding in as few as 1 to 3 days. Here are the cons. They do charge you an origination fee, a late fee, and they have only 2 terms available, 3 and 5 years, and they have a high maximum APR. Maximum APR stands at 35.99%. So here, let's talk about the extra details. So when you think about Prosper, I want you to think about a lender that's basically is a peer-to-peer platform that seeks actually financial stability in terms of when borrowers are applying. So they want you to have a full-time job or a part-time job, but it has to be stable. Okay, if you do job hopping, you can't really qualify. And you can use Prosper personal loans for a range of purposes, including debt consolidation, emergencies, okay, medical and dental expenses, auto-related expenses, home repair costs. Okay, this is really good. Now, the only thing is Prosper personal loans cannot be used for post-secondary education expenses. Not at all. Number 3, folks, we have Upstart. Our score, 9.1 over 10. And the cool thing is that with Upstart, we love Upstart because it's another fintech company that's really kicking ass fantastically. We love that. And so the minimum credit score for Upstart is 300. And the APR range 5.60 to 35.99. And loan amounts here, you are having $1,000 to $50,000. This is really good. And we love the fact that Upstart actually is great because they use AI and machine learning to approve borrowers. So gone are the days where your credit score will really matter. Only your credit score will matter. That's why they are able to go as low as 300. Think about it. Imagine a lender that actually has a minimum credit score as low as 300. It's because Upstart wants to pay attention to other factors that will play an integral role in your ability to repay the loan that you're applying for. So they look at your education, they look at your resume, which is really interesting because the lender looking at your resume, that's really good. I mean, they look at your employment, they look at the sector, what you study in school, they look at your income. So they look at a constellation of factors to actually see if you are let's say an acceptable credit risk. Okay, and Upstart is a really great company because they have great customer service. Okay, and you can receive your money 12 hours to 24 hours after you applied. Okay, so for instance, if you apply before 3 p.m. Eastern time, you can get your cash the next day by 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. This is for what it is. So here are the pros and cons. Pros: it is accessible to borrowers with fair or bad credit. They offer pre-qualification with a soft credit check, and you have the ability to choose a custom payment date. Here are the cons. They do charge you an origination fee up to 8% of the loan amount, but it has to be once after you are approved, though, not before. And they have no secured or co-signer option, and loans only are available for 3 to 5 years terms. 3 or 5 year terms. And here are some extra details you really need to think about. Now, if you have a credit score of a 300, they will take you. If you make at least $12,000 a year, they will take you. Okay. And Upstart's personal loans can be used for credit card or other debt consolidation, emergencies, special events, moving and relocation, medical and dental costs, and home improvements. Okay. And you can actually, Upstart borrowers also can use personal loans to cover educational expenses, except in California, Connecticut, Illinois, Washington, and the District of Columbia. So this is really good if you are facing unexpected education costs. Number 2, folks, we have here Avant. Our score, 9.5 over 10. And we love Avant because this is a lender that has been kicking ass for the last few years. And the thing is that they actually, they are a consumer lending platform. So they are a fintech, if you will. And so they offer unsecured and secured personal loans and credit cards through a third-party bank, web bank. Okay, so unsecured loans are available in Washington, D.C. and every state, but Hawaii, Iowa, New York, Vermont, West Virginia, and Maine. In those states, they have some, they still need to actually to meet the regulatory requirements. So in terms of minimum credit score for Avant, you are looking at 580. The APR ranges from 9.95 to 35.99%. The loan amounts here, you are looking at $2,000 to $35,000. Okay, this is what it's good to know. And Avant applicants who are approved for an unsecured loan before 4:30 p.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday, may receive their funds the next business day. Now, this timeline may vary, however, depending on the borrower's bank. It can also take longer for borrowers who take out secure loans, okay? And this is really good. Now, one thing we love about Avant is that they have low minimum borrowing amount, $2,000 to $35,000, and they have flexible repayment terms. So 2 to 5 years, not 2 and 5 years, but you are talking about 24 months to 60 months, okay? So this should be a great fit for those who need access to emergency funds, but they don't want to borrow more than they need, okay? And so this is really cool. And so here are the pros and cons. Pros: next business day funding available, low credit score requirements, loan terms available up to 60 months. The cons: they do charge an upfront administrative fee, they have a high starting APR for prime borrowers, and co-signers and co-applicants are not allowed, okay? And also, in addition to that, Avant they have had in the last few years what we call a reputational risk event. In other words, they had to actually agree to a 3.85 million settlements with the Federal Trade Commission in April 2019, because according to FTC documents, the lawsuit was filed in response to allegation that, among other things, Avant charged consumers late fees and interest they didn't owe and collected payments from customers without permission or in amounts larger than authorized. So this is what it is. Nothing I want to say here is that we actually reached out to Avant to find out what they have done to adjust practices and processes since the settlement, but we did not receive a response. So we just wanted to, in the interest of objectivity, we just wanted to put it out there that, hey, listen, this company is great, but they do have some skeletons in their closets. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another section of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. I'm still sharing with you the top 5 emergency loans for bad credit, guaranteed approval. And so here are the latest soft pull lenders who approve you generously and super fast with less paperwork. Number 1, the best of the best in our view, Rocket Loans. Our score, 9.8 over 10. With Rocket Loans, you want to have a minimum credit score of 580. Okay, their APR will range from 8.41% to 29.99% with auto pay, of course, and they have loan amounts from $2,000 to $45,000. So you can see that right off the bat, the APR range for Rocket Loans is way better than the ones that you have with Avant and Upstart, Prosper, and Upgrade. Okay, so basically, and one thing I need to say here is that Rocket Loans is a sister company to Rocket Homes and Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans, so they're part of a bigger entity. So Rocket Loans they do offer personal loans through Cross River Bank. Okay, so this is really good, and the lender's availability in most states and low minimum credit score requirements make Rocket Loans an accessible option in our view. And so, however, borrowers will face origination fees and repayment terms linked to 3 or 5 years. So they only have two repayment terms, okay? Here are the pros and cons. The pros: a pre-qualification process only requires a soft credit check. They offer same-day approval and same-day funding. That's totally possible. They do not impose any prepayment penalty, and there are rates discount available with autopay. Here are the cons. There are fees for origination, late payments, and insufficient funds. They don't offer direct payments for debt consolidation loans. They do not allow co-signers or co-applicants, and they have limited loan repayment terms. So in general, let me give you a few extra details about Rocket Loans. The thing is, you have to make minimum income of $24,000. So this is $2,000 a month, Okay, but the thing is that they don't allow co-signers or co-applicants, so you need to actually do things on your own. So if you need quick access to cash, for example, you need to qualify on your own. Very important. But you can use the cash for a lot of things. You can use the cash for emergencies, home improvements, auto-related expenses, travel and vacation, and now the large expenses, not a problem. Okay. So here you have it. Now let me give you a few pro tips as we actually trying to wind down on today's conversation. One thing you need to be very clear about is that I've given you 5 excellent choices when it comes to emergency loans, bad credit guaranteed approval. But I want to give you now a few pro tips for comparing emergency loans so you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. The first thing first, you have to understand emergency loans are often available through traditional banks, credit unions, and online lending platforms, so you can apply quickly and conveniently without having to visit a branch. We get that. However, sometimes you have to discriminate when it comes to choosing your preferred emergency lender. Where possible, I want you to pre-qualify. Good thing is, all the 5 players that we have covered in today's conversation, they allow you to pre-qualify, in which you should do systematically and reflexively. Don't even think about it. You want to pre-qualify. It's very important so that you can avoid your credit score being decimated. Nobody wants that. And you want to consider the purpose of your loan. That now you were telling me, you're probably thinking this is an emergency. What kind of emergency do we have? Because maybe you can reclassify the loan into something else than emergency. Because when you think about it, an emergency loan is basically a generic word for all types of loans. Is it a medical loan? Do you need an education loan to take care of tuition? Do you have some kind of home improvement loans? Whatever it is. And you want to keep an eye out for additional fees. Unfortunately, most of these lenders in today's conversation, they do charge you an admin fee / origination fee / whatever. I mean, they do charge you something. So at the end of the day, you have to make sure that the math works in your favor. In other words, you're not losing too much. And this is why you want to compare and contrast those players to see exactly who is better. And you want to evaluate the lender's customer support options. This is really important to know exactly if they are responsive or they just, they have some kind of crappy customer service. Because that's important also because, hey, listen, if you apply, you want to make sure you're looking for an emergency business loan. You want to make sure that they can actually respond to you fast and you can get your cash as soon as possible. You don't want to wait forever for someone to call you or for someone to release the funds after approval. You just want things real fast, and this is really important. Let me give you some overview about the whole concept of emergency loans. You got to understand what emergency loans are because otherwise you might be applying for the wrong loan at the wrong institution. So it's really important to have a clear idea of an emergency loan. Now, the most common emergency loan is an unsecured personal loan that you can borrow to cover the cost of unexpected expenses. That's the key word here, unexpected. So they are usually quick with deposit coming within a day or two or of when you get approved for a loan. Some lenders can even fund loans on the same day you apply. Okay. Now, because emergency loans are generally unsecured, you likely will not need to put up any collateral to get one. However, some lenders offer secured personal loans that require borrowers to put up assets like home equity and savings account funds to borrow money. You can also obtain emergency loans through payday loans and credit card advances, but we really recommend avoiding these options where possible. Okay. Now, there are several types of emergency loans. So you have personal loans, you have payday loans, you have title loans, you have credit card advances. So really, it really depends on what you're looking for. And so you can use an emergency loan for medical bills, for example. You can actually use the cash for rent and mortgage payments. Yeah. You can take care of utilities with an emergency loan. Let's say funeral expenses. Yeah, I mean, funeral expenses are like the traditional reason why people get emergency loans. If a loved one passed away and didn't provide if he or she did not provide for a funeral cost or other end of life expenses, you may need to take out an emergency loan. And you can take the cash also for home or car repairs. So while you might find a better interest rate in terms with a home equity line of credit or home equity loan, some home repairs need immediate attention and payments. Likewise, auto repairs have a tendency to pop up at the wrongest time, really. So if you need to fix your car or finance home repairs and cannot afford to wait, an emergency loan can cover this cost too. So this is really important. Now, some personal loan lenders have restrictions on how you can use emergency loans. For instance, you might not get to use them to pay for post-secondary education costs. So what you want to do is you want to review the terms and limitations of your personal lender before completing an application. Very important. Now let's talk about the choice. How do you choose an emergency personal loans? How do you choose an emergency personal loan? How do you actually make sure that you are in the right category? There are a lot of factors, but in today's conversation, I'm going to give you a few of them so that you are clear about what to do. You want to think about the funding time. Okay, how soon can you get your money into your account? Within 1 or 2 days is ideal. Some lenders may take upwards of a week to deposit funds, while others can do it as soon as the same day. You can see in today's conversation that, Upgrade and Prosper, they're really fast, but others are slower. Think about the interest rates. Think about the repayment terms. Think about the fees. You need to read the fine print to see what fees each lender charges. Common emergency loan costs include origination fees and late payment penalties. Now, in today's conversation, we have heard another term, administrative fees. Okay, what about credit score requirements? Got to be clear about that too. So those are really important. Now, how do you get? So I just gave you how to choose an emergency loan. Now, how do you get an emergency loan? Well, you need to check your credit score. That's the first thing you want to do. And if necessary, you got to take the steps to improve your credit score. Because the thing a lot of people believe, they will accept me anyway if I have bad credit. That's true, but you are running the risk of having a high APR and lower loan amount. So you want to take steps to improve your credit score before applying, such as lowering your credit usage or paying off unpaid debts, and determine how much debt you need to consolidate or how much emergency loan do you really need. Shop around for the best terms and interest rates. That's why I was telling you earlier that you constantly want to seek a soft pull. You want to see if you can pre-qualify, and you want to submit a formal application and wait for a lending decision. Okay. Now, if you have bad credit, you can go solo or you can go with someone else. You can actually add a cosigner. This will always help. Or you can utilize available collateral. In other words, you're asking the lender to look at your collateral and give you a loan based on that. That's even faster. Or you can apply through a credit union. Again, a credit union usually has a lower, I would say, I'm not going to say they have less stringent requirements, but they are more amenable to their members. Let's just put it that way. So, especially if you go to a branch, you can see someone who can actually explain things to you and can help you out. If you have made it so far, I'm going to give you a bonus here. So where can you get an emergency loan? Now, obviously, you can go to all the 5 players that I just listed into this conversation, right? Rocket Loans, Avant, Upstart, Prosper, and Upgrade. But you can actually go to your own bank too, because all these players, they're fintechs or online lenders. Okay, obviously the loan they actually process the loan through. They will process your loan through a traditional lender, a traditional bank. But the thing is, you can go to your bank too. I mean, a brick and mortar branch with branches where you can just go and sit with and talk to someone. Yeah, you can try the same thing with credit unions. I mean, Navy Fed and Penn Fed, for that matter, they allow you to actually get an emergency loan depending on what you need the money for. So this is totally possible. You can try online lenders like the ones that I have today, or you can try also the alternative lenders. Now, alternative lenders, they are more expensive in terms of the fees they charge. That's why we did not include them into this conversation. Now, when we talk about emergency loans, remember, there are emergency loans alternatives, okay? For example, zero interest credit card. There are some credit cards that don't charge you anything if you get a cash advance. In other words, you convert the limit into cash, they won't charge you anything. But you can try family loans, okay? If you are hurting for cash and don't qualify for a traditional emergency loan, consider a family loan. However, borrowing money from family members can come with its own risks, so be sure to actually set clear expectations and repay the loans on time. Okay, and also you can think about medical repayment plans. Those can also really help. Or try nonprofits organizations. There are also nonprofits that can provide financial assistance based on your needs. Like if you fall behind on your home payments and want to avoid getting a lien on your home or evicted if you rent. So you do have a constellation of choices. Now, one thing I also need to say here is that you need to think about building an emergency fund so that you don't have to always resort to an emergency loan, okay? Because if you are in the market for an emergency loan, you are most likely don't have enough time, okay, to build an emergency fund. This is really important. However, it's never too late to start building one for future emergencies. Okay, this is really good. As a benchmark, you want to aim to have at least 3 to 6 months of living expenses saved. This is really important. Before I close today's conversation, please check out this approach. We do have a strong loan evaluation approach here when it comes to categorizing, listing, or reviewing loans and lines of credit. Check this out. All right, I want to quickly recap today's conversation. So here are the top 5 emergency loans, bad credit guaranteed approval, the latest soft pull lenders who approve you generously and super fast with less paperwork. Number 1, we have Rocket Loans, 9.8 over 10. Number 2, we have here Avant, 9.5 over 10. Number 3, we have Upstart, 9.1 over 10. Number 4, we have Prosper, 8.7 over 10. Number 5, we have Upgrade, 8.2 over 10. Thank you so much for your attention. I'll speak to you another time, but until then, remember, stay marvelous.